Welcome, Strategy Battle Gamers, to another GBHL YouTube video, and this is Damian's hobby vlog number 17. So, as we saw before, I've been painting up my elves recently. I've just finished my Palace Garden, 6 of my Mirkwood Elves, and this week I'm going to be working on these guys, as I hinted at before, which is another 6 of the brand new armoured Mirkwood Elves. So it's another 3 glaives. I've already painted 3 of these guys up, and then 3 of the elf and blade sculpts, which are all rather beautiful. I really like them. So this week I thought I'd try something a bit different. I'm currently recording this on Friday the 20th, so if you bear in mind the half an hour hobby vlog came out just on the past Monday, and I haven't done anything since then, so I'm about to start. And I don't think I'll have a hobby vlog out this Monday. Obviously this is all a bit irrelevant telling you this now, because you'll only ever hear this whenever I do release this. But my thinking is that what I'm going to do is in one hobby vlog show you all the stages of painting something by my standards. And I thought that might be quite interesting, because whenever I base coat my models, I'm always amazed by how horrible they look. And people seem to, a lot of people out there seem to like my painting, so thank you very much for the nice comments. So I'm hoping that by showing how bad the models look for a while, it might then make a bit of, I don't know, be a bit of help or a bit of encouragement to people of how you can then make your models look better. So my basic plan is to paint these 6 guys and film kind of each main stage, as it were, and then fill you in on quite what's going on, and then put the hobby vlog up when I finish these 6. So the reality is, as I said, it's Friday. The 6 of them are almost certainly not going to be finished by Monday. So this will probably be going out on the 30th? The 30th of March, I think. You should be watching this. This hobby vlog will be up, and hopefully these 6 guys will be done. And who knows, I might have tried something else as well. So, to begin with, after I've cleaned them up painstakingly, as I said in a hobby vlog a few weeks ago, these guys took me about half an hour, 40 minutes to clean up each. There is an awful lot of flash on them, and they do require a lot of kind of care and attention, but I think they're worth it. I then spray them white. Let's have a look at one of these. So I use the Citadel, it's probably not, is it still called Skull White? It might be still called Skull White, the spray paint. But the Games Workshop white spray, and I give them a good old spray. I do that because I'm quite old, and when I was first into the hobby, which was sort of 92, basically throughout the 90s, everyone undercoated white. That was just the common way that people undercoated their stuff. And so when I got back into the hobby about 4 years ago, I kept doing that, but then the world had changed and everyone was undercoating black now, and I've never really got comfortable with that. I never really find things come out well, and so I'm always a big fan of undercoating white. I also find that when you undercoat white, you get to see the detail more. I think if you undercoat black, it kind of hides a lot of the detail. So I always find that whenever you undercoat something white, you can then go and have a look at it, and you will see more detail on it before you start painting, and kind of really figure out what each bit's meant to be. So yeah, that's my kind of rationale behind that, and that's where I start from. I also think the paint kind of takes better to the white, in my opinion. One thing I am going to change, let me show you on this guy, is if you look in there, you see there's a V in the neck. You see that? On the previous ones, I painted that as armour on my last 6, but I'm now, again, having painted it and having a good look at it, I'm pretty sure that's meant to be part of the cloak. So I think on or the undergarment, as it were. So on these guys, I think I'm going to paint that kind of bit in the neck as part of the red cloak, and paint that a bit differently. But yes, so that's what my models look like when I start out. And I am now going to start base coating them, and what we'll do is I will come back and show you what my models look once they've been base coated. Okay, and my 6 elves are now base coated. So let's just scroll over these. These have all had, they are now covered in paint, I should say. Everything has been covered in its base coat. And this took me about 4 hours to do the full set, which is longer than I thought base coating took me, but I'm quite interested. I thought as I go through this process with you this week, I would kind of talk about how long each step takes, to give you some idea, and then it'll also help me work out how long it takes me to paint your average model. So I'm just going to have a look at one of them. I won't bore you with showing each one at every stage, but here he is. Come on. There we go. So here is one of my old base coat stage, and as you can see, it looks a bit rough. That looks a bit kind of thin, but you know, none of this stuff matters because it'll all be cut out. Actually, what's interesting is he looks better on camera than he does in real life, because the lighting's kind of adding some shading to him. But that's what's going on. One interesting thing I learned I noticed based on what I was telling you about my undercoating, is that on fine cast models particularly, you tend to get some like gaps and bits where the paint doesn't settle. It's like the grooves in the fine cast models seem to be deeper, or possibly so that you don't get paint in absolutely everything. So I've kind of sometimes I have to go back over and kind of touch up bits, just to make sure you have a nice kind of tidy coat before you do your shading. Now, as much as you're going to tidy this up later, spending a little extra bit of time just tidying it up is a very good idea at this point. So I like to try and make sure that there's no kind of paint on the wrong areas at this point. So just to run through what I've done. The cloaks are base coated in Doomball Brown. The spear halves, the back of the shields, and the armour is done in Balthazar Gold. There we go. The blades are done in Boltgun Metal, which I believe is now called Lead Belcher. The faces are done in Cadian Flesh Tone. The hair is done in Xandri Dust. The brown leather coat, back of the shield and spear shafts, is done in Rhinox Hide. And the belts, gloves and leather trim are done in Gorthor Brown. So those are my 7 base coats I've used. As I said, that took about 4 hours. So that is the base coat stage, and next up is the shading, and I'll show you them when they're shaded. Okay, so here they are after the next stage. See if I can get in there and have a look at them. And at this point they have been washed. They've been shaded with Agrax Earthshade. So this is a relatively quick stage of the process, but that gives them all the shading and the definition. As I said, I use this Agrax Earthshade, and it's just been waxed over the whole model. I normally shade with Agrax Earthshade or Nuln Oil, depending on the miniature in question. But for these guys, I think Agrax Earthshade works the best on all the colours. Kind of on the reds and the golds and the browns, it's a better shading colour than Nuln Oil, which makes them look very, very dark. So what this always does is ties the colour in together. So I would say immediately, whilst these are far from finished, these models look hugely better than they did pre-shading. And pre-shading they looked quite rough. You could see a kind of lot of errors and stuff. And whilst you get some dark pooling and stuff in the cloaks that we'll get rid of later, the models suddenly look good. And I have to say, I have seen models at this standard used at tournaments. This point would be the first point in the process where I could actually say, you know what, I don't think you'd win many prizes, but if you whack these down on the board now, you could use them at an event. I did it many, many miles ago. I think it was actually my very first SPG event, the doubles, where I was so up against it to get everything done that my Royal Guard dismounts, so 6 Royal Guard, were just shaded and never highlighted. And they were, this is back in 2011, I think, 2012 possibly. And I said to myself, right, when I get back from the tournament, they will be the next thing I paint, and they have not been highlighted to this day. So it's always a risky, strategy, I think, kind of shading them and then basing them and saying I'll highlight them later, because there's always that risk that you go, oh, they look good enough, I'll leave them as they are. So let's just take a close-up look at this guy, who's I think the one you saw before. There he is, and that gives you an idea of how the colours now look. As you see, everything just looks that little bit better. So this process took me about half an hour. You kind of take your time with it a bit so you don't make them too dark, but maybe about 5 minutes per model, something like that, I think. And so yeah, we're on about the 4.5 hour mark now, I think. So next up comes the highlighting. So up to this point, I don't really enjoy the painting, because this stuff doesn't seem particularly creative to me. It almost seems like priming the model to me, getting them to this point, because you're just go running through the motions. Whereas from now on, as the highlighting begins, the model really comes to life. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. That's the next process, the highlighting, and I will come back and show you how they look after every colour has had at least one highlight. Okay, so here we are after the next stage in the process, and this is taking quite a while, if I'm honest. I'm now, I can't remember because I haven't filmed anything on this in so long, but I can't remember if I told you when I started this, but it's currently the 4th of June, and I started this hobby vlog, I started these 6 elves somewhere around the 20th of March. So I've been working on these 6 elves for 2.5 months now, and I've been diverted. I did Haldir, I did Golfing Ball, as we all have seen. I've done Galadriel, but they have been dropped down the queue. I also have spent a lot of time running our tournament and preparing for that and finishing SPG issue 2, so that's why it's all been delayed, but it's quite the slog. But the next stage is now finished, which is, if I show you these, they have all now had 1 round of highlighting. So every kind of base colour has been gone over again by this point, and all of these. So basically that means I've gone over the armour to give it this kind of orangey effect with, God, I've forgotten, it's been so long. Which one's this one, isn't it? Gehenna's Gold. So Gehenna's Gold has gone over that to give it a highlight. The faces, I don't know if it will pick them up, the faces are now done as well. So I've done the skin tone and the eyes because I wanted to get that finished before painting in the helmets. So the face is completely done. Yeah, Gehenna's Gold on the armour, the Doomball Brown on the cloaks, the Rhinox Hide, is it, I think, on the dark brown, and the Gorthor Brown and the other bits. So that's been done on all of these. Now, this stage I think is at the point where they could go onto the table. Once you've had one highlight, you could put these on the table, and I think some people out there do that. Some people for their rank and file do one level of highlighting, and oh good god, right, well I'm going to have to do 2 levels of highlighting on that guy, aren't I? And I'm certainly, some of my older armies did have this. If you look at my Moria army or my Rohan guys, this is the level I would get to. I would paint, 1 level of highlight on your rank and file. But because I've kind of challenged myself and I'm pushing myself, these guys are going to get at least 1 more level of highlight. So that's kind of how my painting's come on, I guess, in the years. My painting style has changed to give even the rank and file guys a little more attention. In terms of time, this stage, doing the highlights for all of this, bear in mind that the main thing that takes time on this is the armour, because all the armour's picked out by hand. So down here, every one of these, there's no dry brushing or anything. Every bit of this, every strip here and every one of these scales has all been painted in individually. And this stage took about 7 hours in total to get them all to here. I've got the faces took about 5 minutes per model. The gold took about half an hour per model. The browns took about, all the browns all told took about 20 minutes per model, and the cloaks took about 20 minutes per model. So it's around about 7 hours further to do this. And if you bear in mind, I'm now about to start the next stage of highlighting, which is going to take all these models up. That's almost certainly going to take about the same amount of time. So pan over here, the next stage is to paint the armour over again with Auric Armour Gold to make it pop a bit, and then to paint, I think I do Baneblade Brown, is it? I think I use to highlight up the browns to the lightest. And it's been so long since I've painted the other elves, I can't remember. And then the cloaks are actually going to have, I think the cloaks get 3 more highlights, although they don't take as long because I'm not doing it as much. So there's a lot to, there's still a lot to come on these guys. And as I said, this is 7 hours into the process, so I've got at the very least another 7 hours of work to do on this, but probably a lot more. So it's kind of bizarre how long these are taking. I'm hoping that when I get back, I'm about to go to the Riddles in the Woodhouse tournament, and I should get these finished next week finally and get them off the painting table, and then I'll be able to give you a final update of how long these have taken me in total, and how long it takes me to paint the average rank and file troop. But yeah, you go. That's the update as it stands at the moment. Bit of a slog, but to be honest, I haven't been working on them for a long time. So we'll come back in, I don't know, a few days. Cheers. Okay, and here we are after the next stage. It probably won't surprise you to hear this anymore, but this is now, I reckon, a couple of weeks since the last stage, so this blog is going on and on and on. But I have now completed the second stage of highlighting. So if we have a look at these now, this is how they're getting to at the moment, and they are now very much at long last nearing completion. And we've got that. They're not quite done yet though, you'll be thrilled to know. Now, it's not going to bother you because you're going to watch this all in one go, but for me this seems like the longest thing I've ever done in my life. This has taken longer than my degree, I reckon. So yeah, as you can see, they're definitely improving now, but still a few bits to do. So what have I done since the last stage? Firstly, I've worked on the gold to make that look almost near finished now by doing another hand highlight with Auric Armour Gold this time. So every scale was painted individually, every little rivet and everything has been painted by hand, no dry brushing or anything like that. And that took ages, as I've banged on about before. So the gold took about half an hour on each model. That was with Auric Armour Gold. What I then did was use Karak Stone to highlight 4 different areas. So if we look in here, I highlighted the edge of those pale brown trims. You see just in there in front of the gold, that was originally painted with Gawthor brown, has now been gone over with Karak Stone. I also did the belts, there's a little highlight on the belts in there. I also did the fingers, if we look in there, the fingers have been highlighted with that, and the hair was highlighted with Karak Stone as well. So that was done as well, and that suddenly, it's interesting just doing it with one colour like that, but I do think it works quite well, highlighting lots of different bits with the same colour. It kind of ties them together quite nice tonally. There's the shield guys, onto the glaives. There you go, see in there, you can hopefully now see there's a kind of running along all these bits in there, there's now a dark line of brown as well as a paler, kind of almost cream going on there. I also painted in the belt buckles, might be able to see in there bits of silver. So I bring them out a bit and make them pop. And yeah, so that was that bit. Then after that was done, I mixed Gawthor brown with Rhinox hide, and I did a highlight on the dark brown cloaks. So in here, see if we can see it on this one, you can hopefully see in there now, so these dark brown patches should have a bit of highlight, and I think this guy showed it pretty well, didn't he? Just in there you can hopefully see the darker browns in the creases. That's coming out together, and I did that on the boots as well. See how well that comes out. There's now a little highlight on those boots. And I've got this guy. See that on there? It's coming together quite nicely. Little Karak Stone highlight on the fingers there. And you can see as well that the hair is hopefully popping a bit more now. And the hair's now finished, the hair is definitely finished. And the last guy over here has had the same thing. I think you can see the dark brown highlight there quite well, where it's kind of gone in. So again, a lot more detail than I used to put into the rank and file, but I think well worth it for these models. So that's that. Now also the last stage I did of this second stage, the browns were easy. All those browns took about an hour in total. And then I mixed Doomball Brown with Mephiston Red and did another highlight on the cloaks. So the cloaks had already been highlighted with Doomball Brown, and then I gave them this Mephiston, this 50% Doomball Brown, 50% Mephiston Red highlight, which kind of brings the cloaks out a bit. I think this looked quite good on this one, didn't it? Was it this one? And you start to see the kind of depth of the cloak, the depth of colour in the cloak beginning to appear. I think this one came out quite well. Yeah, you can see it there. You can see the kind of that there are base colour, shade, highlight, and then highlight again so far. So there's a fair bit of depth and a fair bit of colour going on in that. So with that done, that was the last stage. So all told, that stage of that second highlight, and again they could certainly now be finished, but they're not. They never are they? They could be finished, but that stage, the second stage of highlighting, took about 5 hours in total. To add to my project time. And if we pan along here, they're looking pretty cool. I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but there's a few things I want to do with them. Firstly, the cloaks aren't quite finished. As much as I think they're looking quite nice, particularly for rank and file, I want to bring a bit more up. So I want to bring him in, and here's a potentially finished one. You can see that there's hopefully, don't know how well it's shown up, but there's some brighter highlights on the tips. So what I'm now going to do is do a very extreme highlight with this of Tuskor fur. That's going to go on to the very edges, and then I'm going to mix Tuscarora fur with Mephiston red, and then paint that in between to kind of blend those very edge highlights in. So there's 2 more layers to go onto the cloak. So for my rank and file, at least my elves, I now do 4 layers of highlighting, which is quite extreme, which is why they take so long. But there's those 2 colours left to do. And then the last thing I'm going to do is get Seraphim Sepia to dull down the armour. So if you look at the moment, it looks quite good, and it doesn't look too bad on camera, but it's a bit shiny in the flesh. And if you take a look at this guy again, who knows how well this will show up. This is the finished guy, who should just look, his armour should look a bit duller. Yeah, you can see this guy looks a bit browner compared to this one. So what I basically do, as I've taught you through before, is I just lightly paint Seraphim Sepia over it. I don't cover it in it, I don't wash it in the traditional way. I just gently paint it on to darken it up on the plate mail. I leave the scale mail alone. So on this finished guy, you should notice that the scale mail looks brighter, hopefully, than the plate mail, like that. So that is what I've got left to do. So very nearly there. We're going to do 2 more highlights on the cloaks, and then we're going to do 1 more highlight, the wash on the Seraphim Sepia, and then I'm going to do the bases. So I won't show you that before I do the bases. So the next time you'll see them will hopefully be when they are completely finished, and then I'll finally get to publish this 3-month in the making vlog. But yeah, I'll come back when that's been done. And so here we are, and they are finished. You probably don't care about this as much because you found out about these elves about 20 minutes ago, whereas I found out about these elves 3 months ago. But yes, they are now completely finished at long, long last, and here they are. So it is now the 1st of July. That's meaning, did you say started on the 20th of March, is that right? So about 10 weeks I reckon all in to do these guys, would you believe it? Obviously, as I've said before, a few breaks, but they are now done. Kaloo Kalay. So what else do we do? As you can now hopefully see, the armour had that Seraphim Sepia light wash, so you should notice hopefully that the scale mail is now a bit brighter, and all the gold has been ever so slightly dulled down just to get that shine off it. We did that. That didn't take very long at all. That probably took about 20 minutes total, so only about 4 minutes per model, something like that, and they're looking pretty cool. Show a couple of these. So all told, that means the gold on these models took something in the region of just over an hour, probably with base coating and shading, probably like an hour and a quarter just to do the gold on these guys, like per model, that means. Like that. I'm just zooming on these guys. And then, as I said, I'm just going to turn them all around. I also did 2 more highlights on their cloaks, and I'm really pleased with how the cloaks came out. Hopefully the camera will pick it up. So this is how the cloaks now look as we come along here. So what I've done, as I said, was right on all the edges I painted on Tuscarora fur, which is this one, which then gave some very, very extreme looking highlights that looks a bit awful. But then when I mixed Tuscarora fur with Mephiston red, like in a 50-50, I then painted that into the gap, so you can kind of see it here. So this was the highlight, and then the red colour was painted into the gaps in between them, thus giving essentially there's the shaded, there's the base coat, and then 1, 2, 3, so 4 levels of highlighting all told on these cloaks, and I think they come out really well. And I think it gives a very nice impression of red. I don't know what, that suddenly seems to have got very cold on the camera, hasn't it? I'm quite sure what that is. But it's cool because in the flesh, they certainly now look a bit pinkier on the camera as you're looking at them. Not quite sure why that is. Let me get some more warm lighting. No, it's not really doing it. I'm not sure why that is, sorry guys. But they don't look as pink as they do on the screen in real life. But I think they give a very good idea of a highlighted red cloak. Let's have a look at this guy, see if we can get... You gonna focus me? Doesn't seem to want to play now. There we go, we're warming up. There we go. That's that's weird. That's a much better impression of what it actually looks like. So there we go. So yeah. So all told, I spent about another 2 hours on the elves themselves, doing that gold wash and the extra pink highlights, which I was very pleased with. And then the bases all told took me about an hour and 45 minutes. I haven't really talked through my bases, but I've done a tutorial video elsewhere. If you're interested in seeing how I do my bases, go and have a look at that. But yeah, all told that took about 45 minutes, an hour and 45 minutes to get all the bases done. So this has taken another sort of just under 4 hours. We'll call it 3.5. So it averages out, I should be at about 24 hours now, I believe, total time to complete these elves. So, a full day's work. That's the total, and this was the interesting experiment for me, that 24 hours that includes cleanup and it includes basing to finish these 6 guys, which means on average it takes me 6 of these guys, so 4 hours per rank and file troop. So pick one of these up. To get one of these out of the blister, assemble it, paint it and base it takes about 4 hours for me, which I don't think is too bad given the level that I'm painting them. I'm going into quite some detail in these for rank and files, but I think that's pretty good, including all the nasty cleanup stuff. I think what would be quite interesting is that I've got one guy left who is this chap, my Palace Guard banner conversion, who I'm quite tempted to paint him on his own and just try and bash him out and see if he takes 4 hours, or if I would be quicker or slower just painting one on his own. But that is those 6 completed, and yeah, I'm absolutely relieved to get these guys finally done and kind of off the painting table, because they've been, as I said, this has been going on for sort of 10 weeks. And it's been driving me insane, so it's really, really good to get these finished. But yeah, pretty pleased with how they turned out in the end. What's interesting is if you go and watch my hobby vlog, I think it's number 13, the one where I finished the Palace Guard and the last 6 elves, I say that the good thing is, despite having painted 8 Palace Guard and 6 of these elves in the same colour scheme, I'm really excited to paint some more. I'm really excited to get into these guys here. And now, 10 weeks later, I have to say nothing could be further from the truth. The idea of painting any more gold and red elves makes me want to throw up a bit. So I don't particularly think that Palace Guard banner or my knights, these 2 knights that I assembled in a hobby vlog ages ago, they're not probably going to get done for a while yet. I've also got another 12 of these guys that I'm going to do certainly this year, but not yet. I can't face another 12 of these, I'm afraid. So yeah, that's them done, and now I'm just quite excited about what I'm going to do next. I've got a few ideas. I'm not going to say anything until my hobby vlog next week, because I think I will have one. But I'm definitely going to be painting something that I want to paint. I'm going to work on a few heroes next. Going to paint up a few key characters, models that I'm really excited to do, and kind of lavish a bit of attention on single models rather than rank and file guys like these. But there we go. That is my hobby vlog, and it is at long last finished. I hope you've enjoyed this kind of stage by stage process. If you have, great news, but I will almost certainly never do this again, because it's been a nightmare over the last 10 weeks trying to kind of keep this project going and make sure I know where all the different clips are and everything like that. But hopefully it's been something a bit different for you guys to watch as well. So there we go, and I will return next week with some new stuff. So until then, as ever, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Support your Hobbit hobby, and happy strategy battle gaming.